back in the day when NBA games used to come on NBC and Marv Albert was the commentator with Magic Johnson. That theme music was the absolute greatest.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs?
That's right! We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure! We've come too far! There's too much to lose! We've got to keep our composure!
What do you want from me?
The fact of the matter is,
I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully.
now a lot of people are going to be telling you you're crazy, and maybe they're right, but the fact of the matter is,
What's going on, everyone? My name is Marcus Rencher, and you are now tuned into episode 1 of the Fact of the Matter podcast. So, this is a very exciting time for me right now because this is something that I've been wanting to do for many years now. As people that are close to me know, I've been an avid podcaster, podcast listener, podcast enthusiast for many years now. And I listen to all different genres of podcasts, whether it's sports primarily or politics, pop culture, music. And I've always believed that having a platform to voice your opinions is important, especially if you're somebody that's very opinionated like myself. And I just want my opinions to be heard. And I believe that I like to spout a lot of facts. And I feel like not enough people listen to me when I say something, and Twitter can only take you so far. And this is something I'm passionate about. This isn't just something just so I can have people listen to me. This is something that I consider a true passion. This is something that, when it comes to just speaking about sports, about politics, about any pop culture or music, I mean, this is something that I've wanted to do for a long time. When I was younger, I started a blog, a sports blog. If I can remember correctly, it was called The Sports Mind, and I used to just blog about different headlines that took over the sports world at the time. Actually, I'm sorry, it was called the New York Sports Mind because I am from New York, born and raised. Die-hard Knicks fan, die-hard Giants fan, die-hard Yankee fan, just so I can make that clear. But I'm not biased. But I digress. But going back to the blog, I used to blog about just different headlines that took over. And what's funny about myself is going back from when I was young to a little bit now, when I have something that I'm working on that's meant for other people to see or critique, I used to be insecure about other people's criticisms of it, and that's not something that I want to do right now. I want to put this out. I want people to hear what I have to say, and hey, you never know, you can create a following that way, and I'm sure that's how all the other podcasters have gotten their start. They had their beginnings from having an opinion on something or having something that they feel they have knowledge on, and wanted to record themselves once or twice or 3 times a week, put it on a platform, and just hope that you can get somebody to listen to it. And that's the position that I'm in right now. And I'm somebody that likes to spout a lot of facts, what I believe are facts. Some may call them opinions, but to a point, I like to say that they are facts, which is why I entitled this podcast The Fact of the Matter. And throughout the episodes, I could be primarily talking about sports. I could be talking about music. Could be talking about pop culture, movies, politics. Anything to me that grabs my attention. I surf the web consistently throughout my day. Any type of free time that I have at work, and I'll jot anything down that I see, and I'll talk about it when the day comes for me to release an episode. Speaking of that, I'd like to release an episode once a week. I haven't quite picked a day yet, today's Thursday. It's an odd time to release a podcast, but the award show was on Monday. I was extremely busy yesterday. I'm sorry, today's Wednesday. And I was extremely busy yesterday, and I wasn't able to release anything. But which is perfect timing, because today we had some huge headlines in sports, so which I'm going to get into in a few moments. But a little background about myself. I said a little bit before. Born and raised in New York, diehard New York sports fan. I currently live in New Jersey with my girlfriend. Extremely happy, and you'll definitely be hearing her in a few episodes. A couple other people you may hear early on. My brother, a huge sports fan, New York sports fan, just like myself. My father, similar position. One of my best friends, who happens to be a neighbor around the corner. I mean, I'm looking to have a good time with this, and you know, one thing that's great about podcasts, especially ones that you start yourself, you control the format, you control the direction that it goes in, and once you have a certain amount of people that are listening, that determines the direction that that it takes going forward. And it's all an exciting time for me right now, and I'm just really happy that I didn't allow the fact that I'm outing myself a little bit right now, the fact that I don't have the correct equipment just yet to stop me from doing this. Now, I don't have my Yeti mic with pop filter yet. I will be getting that very soon. Right now, currently, I'm using my JBL studio headphones with the mic attachment. It's gonna do the job. I got a great studio podcasting edit software, and I mean, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. If there's something you're passionate about, I hope maybe I can inspire somebody that's been wanting to do something for a long time to just get up and do it and don't make excuses, you know. So, all right, enough about all that. Let's get into it. So, I'm gonna touch on some things that happened earlier in the week before I hit on the major headlines that happened today. As I said, I'm a diehard Knicks fan, diehard. And if you've been following sports today, I'm sure you were somewhat aware of anything that happened with Phil Jackson. But before I get into that, I need to talk about the NBA award show on Monday. Need to. I had so opinionated when it came to that show. I mean, maybe I'm being a little too harsh on them, because it was their first time having this award show, even though a couple years ago they had like the Players Association Awards, where the players voted for their peers of different categories for different awards. I didn't really watch the whole thing. I may have, but maybe it was just so bad that I couldn't remember anything, so I just completely deleted it from my memory. That's a strong possibility. But this award show happened to be the first. There were definitely some ups and some downs. I'll touch on those briefly, because I don't want to spend too much time on that. But I'll start off with Drake did a great job. Drake did a really great job. I mean, I'm not surprised, because he killed it during the ESPYs a few years ago. And he's just got his timing when it comes to jokes, and his timing when it comes to just being able to deliver anything. Doesn't really stammer, doesn't jump over his words. He doesn't get flustered easily. I mean, he was going back and forth with the TNT guys, and he was giving them the business back and forth. I mean, he was clowning Kenny, who clearly had all his jokes written. I mean, Drake more than likely had his jokes written, which was one of the jokes that they had back and forth, but his delivery was just so much better than everyone else's. And I mean, I'm not trying to just be all, because a lot of my friends like to say that I'm a Drake head, or whatever people call somebody that is a huge fan of somebody else when it comes to Drake specifically. But I mean, hey, you got to give credit where credit's due, and he did a great job. If you can have good timing with Will Ferrell, one of the funniest people that ever walked this earth, in my opinion, then then you got something going. Even though obviously it was recorded and stuff, but still, man, that was funny. Not everyone could do that and get away with it, and that's a rapper that's in his industry. Come on, not many people can do that. So you got to give credit where credit's due. So that's one of the highs. Another one of the highs is that they got all the awards right. They gave everybody the awards that deserved it. Sixth man, Eric Gordon, balled out this season, which was surprising. Somebody that was extremely injury prone. When they signed him and Ryan Anderson to Houston at the beginning of the season, I know I'm not the only one that was like, okay, Eric Gordon, Ryan Anderson, all right, maybe they'll win 40-something games. Doesn't seem like too much of an upgrade, but that Houston team with an ex-Knicks coach surprised everyone. James Harden, I mean, he's a great player, but I didn't think he was going to go out there and damn near average a triple-double and have the greatest season of his career. Put up some ridiculous numbers, like Steve Nash ×2. Like, I don't know, man, that's why it was hard for me to not pick him as MVP, especially since Houston had a better record. But I mean, they had the sixth man of the year on their team and the runner-up MVP. They were overachievers for sure. Oh, and don't forget the coach of the year and Mike D'Antoni. I mean, they were overachievers for sure. And the news that they had today definitely. Well, I have my opinion on that, but I mean, Houston continues to just stay in the headlines, and they're probably not going anywhere for a little bit. But some of the other awards, Rookie of the Year, Malcolm Brogdon deserved it. I thought Dario Saric played great, but Malcolm Brogdon played on a team that was a playoff team. He wasn't just getting minutes just because everyone else on his team sucked. Like, he actually led that team, and he was the point guard and took over for some point guards on a team that I believe they should have been starting. Dellavedova, they gave him more money than I'm even at a loss for words thinking about the amount of money that they gave Matthew Dellavedova, and he wasn't their starting point guard. He was coming off the bench. Like, Malcolm Brogdon was a rookie. I mean, see, I've always been a huge proponent of drafting 3+ year college players because they just are more mature. I think that their basketball IQ is a little bit higher. I'm big on drafting based off of production, not just their upside. But I mean, that's because that's hit or miss these days, which is why I say either, and I'm getting off topic briefly, but it's why I say if you're gonna let these kids play young, let them just come out of high school. I know that's been in talks lately, but just let them come out of high school. Don't let them play 1 year in college, waste everyone's time. Just do these one and done so Coach Cal can get more and more freshmen. It's funny because he was one basically saying that they should keep the rule and let them play 1 year because he knows he's going to lose his one and dones. So I don't know. I just think that when you stay for a couple years minimum, your basketball IQ is just gonna get better. Your time is gonna get better. Your speed, you'll be ready to play with grown men because you'll be somewhat of a man yourself, not just a 17, 18, 19-year-old like some of these kids are. But I mean, Malcolm Brogdon he's case in point, man. He was a low draft pick, second round pick, if I remember correctly, and we went out there and he shocked some people and he threw it down on LeBron. I mean, he's going to remember that and telling his grandchildren that for the rest of his life. They get a reverse dunk on LeBron at home. Come on. So, Malcolm Brogdon, he definitely deserved it. Most improved for sure. Giannis Antetokounmpo. I said his name correctly. And my man on the Knicks, Kristaps Porzingis, are definitely going to be the face of the European basketball flow for a long time because KP's just going to get better and better as long as the right system is put in place around him, and to be someone that's the leader of a team, as long as, especially if Carmelo's staying, which I think he probably will, he better start to slowly hand the reins off to KP so he can go out there and average his 20 and 10 like he's meant to. But I digress again. Real quick, I can talk about the Knicks. I can sit here and talk about the Knicks for 2 straight hours. I'm not going to do that to you guys, I promise. I'm an unbiased sports enthusiast, but no, that's not true. I am extremely biased. I will say that the Knicks are better than anyone. No, I'm joking. I won't. But I can't sit here and talk about the Knicks for a long time, but I'm not going to do that. But Giannis absolutely deserved it. He's going to be a beast for years to come. That Milwaukee team is going to be a problem. I still think Jabari Parker is going to be crazy when he comes back. I mean, I follow him on Instagram, and he hasn't posted anything since his injury. So you know he's out there working because he is a hard worker. You play for Coach K, you work hard. As much as I hate Duke, I'm sorry. Let me go back again because I want everyone to know this about me. I am a diehard Michigan State basketball and football fan. So the North Carolina teams, all the Carolina teams, I really can't stand. Of course, all the rival Big Ten teams I can't stand, especially Ohio State. Can't stand Notre Dame either. But North Carolina and Duke, never liked them my whole life. Never liked anyone that came from them besides maybe like Vince Carter, Rasheed Wallace. Antoine Jameson wasn't terrible. But, man, that could be about it. Jamal Mashburn. But I'm not going to really sit here and talk about those teams. But I got to respect Coach K and Roy Williams because they know how to coach their players. And they, unlike Cal and some of these other guys, Izzo's a part of the same group with K and Roy Williams. They turn their players into men. I mean, they get them ready for the league. And to talk about Michigan State real quick, I'm very happy that Miles Bridges came back and stayed one more year because when he gets drafted in top 5 at the end of next season, because he'll more than likely come out after next season, people are going to really understand that staying that extra year is definitely going to help because he was a lottery pick without a doubt this year. Without a doubt, Miles Bridges was a lottery pick. But to stay one more year, I mean, that takes a lot of dedication to I mean, maybe he really likes school. I don't know. But to miss out on that paycheck that he was going to get, I mean, listen, Ben Simmons said it. He didn't want to be in that school. He was wasting his time. He just wanted to go to the NBA, get that money, and win. He didn't care about school, but Miles Bridges, he went there and stayed. So, yeah, Giannis is no joke this year. And I think that he's the future. He's the future. And that team is, that Bucks team is, they're poised. They're poised for some greatness under Coach Kidd, which is funny because he left Brooklyn with a mess. I thought he was going to Milwaukee into an even bigger mess, and he turned that whole franchise around. So big ups to Jason Kidd, man, because he definitely proved me wrong. And but Giannis, he definitely deserved that Most Improved Player, Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, listen, Draymond Green, he had a triple-double this season with less than 10 points. Never been done in history. That means he had 10-plus steals, 10-plus blocks, 10-plus rebounds. I'm sorry. He didn't have 10-plus blocks. He had an assist, rebounds, and blocks. He didn't have 10-plus steals. I'm sorry. But, I mean, that's impressive. No one's ever done that. No one's ever done that before to have a triple-double. He absolutely deserved it. He averaged over 2 steals and over 2 blocks a game. I mean, that's extremely impressive for somebody that's on a team that's filled with stars, and you can just get lost in all of those stars and all the shooting, and with Clay and Draymond. I mean, Clay and KD and Steph. Draymond really did his thing out there this season, and he absolutely deserved that Defensive Player of the Year award. And I couldn't be happy for him as a Sparty alum, somebody that I've watched since his freshman year, averaged 2 points a game and probably average about 5 minutes a game, to being on the all Big Ten team and be a finalist at be a finalist for the Naismith Award. I mean, bring his team to a national championship. Lose to North Carolina, unfortunately, which is another strong reason why I strongly dislike North Carolina Tar Heels. But Draymond deserved that award, and he needed some notoriety for being the fourth star on that team. Regardless of what you want to say about him, he is a star on this team, and he's the heartbeat of the Warriors, and they want to be where they're at without him. And I strongly believe that. I'll sit here and debate that with anyone, that Draymond Green definitely is one of the major reasons why Golden State is where they were this season and going forward. But now that's another team I could talk about forever is the Warriors. But don't worry, I'll get to that. And last but not least, I mean, I'm missing some awards, but these are the major ones to me. The MVP, he averaged a triple-double. And I just watched this video today where a bunch of players throughout the years were saying averaging a triple-double will never be done. Oscar Robertson was the last one that's ever going to be able to do it. And this dude went out there and he averaged a triple-double, and he had 42 triple-doubles in one season. It's absurd. Absurd. If you watch some of the videos that NBA puts out on YouTube, they'll make it seem like Russell Westbrook's the greatest player to ever play the game. But, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that because it's not true, but he's damn near like number 2 or 3, man, because that's obviously not true either. But what he did was incredible. I'm not going to lie, I really thought they were going to give it to James Harden because his team had a better record and they overachieved, and he literally was the most valuable player, in my opinion. As far as the 3 top candidates were between him, Kawhi, and Westbrook. But when it comes to being the most valuable player on your team in the league, it's LeBron every year. LeBron is the most valuable player in the league. You take LeBron off that team and they win with Kyrie and K-Love, man, they'll win 40 games. Mind you, they didn't win that many games this season, but LeBron was coasting. They were all coasting until they got to the playoffs because they knew they were going to the finals. But you take LeBron off any team. You put LeBron on any team, they win 25, possibly 30 more games on any team. I mean, obviously ones that basically is what I'm saying. You put LeBron on any team, they get better. And you can't necessarily say that about James Harden or Westbrook, not to the extent that you can with LeBron. So LeBron is the most valuable player. But as far as these top 3, the most valuable player, in my opinion, was James, because they're the number 3 seed in the West in a stacked Western Conference. They were on a team where everyone thought they were going to win 40 games. Mind you, everyone thought that OKC was going to win the amount of games that they won. 7th seed in the West. I mean, I could have told you they'd make the playoffs. I knew they'd make the playoffs. I knew Westbrook was not going to miss the playoffs the first year without KD. Knew it. I knew they weren't going to be over the top 5, and they did exactly what they set out to do. What I believed that they would do, and they achieved what they could, and they put the right pieces around him. But Westbrook needs another star, so we'll see what they do with that team, because Westbrook has an option to be able to sign probably one of the biggest contracts in the league right now, if not the biggest. Or he can leave, which I doubt he'll do. But you never know these days, man, because LeBron swore he was never leaving Cleveland and he left. So who knows? Westbrook can leave OKC. But going back to what his numbers were, I mean, it's incredible to average a triple-double all season. I myself have even said nobody in the history of the league is going to average a triple-double. Didn't think it'd be possible if LeBron couldn't do it. And he got close. He got close a couple times. He really did. He got close. But if LeBron couldn't do it, I didn't think anyone could do it. And Westbrook went out there and did it. So I thought maybe the voters, the media would have a short attention span and maybe give it to Westbrook give it to Harden just because they had a better record, but Harden disappeared in the Game 7 of the playoffs against San Antonio, which was weird. Even D'Antoni didn't know what to do. He was down there spinning his clipboard. That was very weird, and maybe that played a part into it, even though it's the regular season MVP. But I believe that they based a lot of it off the performance in the playoffs, and Westbrook played his heart out even in the playoffs, and they lost in the first round. So, hey, Westbrook did the unimaginable, and he absolutely deserved the MVP. So, you got to just stand up and give him a round of applause for that, because he did the unimaginable again. So those are the highs of the award show to me. There were a couple awkward parts. I think Nicki Minaj performing in front of old white NBA owners and execs and front office management, some coaches, and even some of the players were sitting up there too, and they weren't even moving. Like, she was up there playing, singing, I don't know, doing some performance. I don't really listen to her music, but doing some performance, and they weren't moving. They were just up there staring and gawking at her. I thought it was an odd choice for an artist to perform at the award show. And maybe they just wanted the views. I really thought it was a very odd choice. Drake was right there. I'm pretty sure everyone would have enjoyed a Drake performance. I don't know why they didn't choose him. But even when 2 Chainz came out there, he looked like he was like, I don't even know I'm up here and no one's even bouncing to my music or anything. I was trying to be in and out, and he was going after he had his verse. And at one point, Nicki was even like, "All my real ballers make some noise," because she just wanted to hear some type of noise. It was probably quiet in there. It probably was quiet. So to me, that was awkward. I think the entire thing with the TNT guys up there, that was awkward. I think right when they first started, they were a little flustered. They had all their peers up there staring at them. Usually they're in the studio. So that was kind of funny, waiting for them to really get started. And then, God, this was cringeworthy. When Shaq went up there, and they were going into a commercial break, and he thought he was a DJ. Now, Shaq's been doing this thing on Instagram, where I guess he thinks he's a DJ now because he got some equipment, he got money, so he can buy some stuff. Maybe someone taught him how to do something. But I know if I was his son, and I saw him do whatever mix he did up there, he tried to mix Mask Off and Humble. Mask Off by Future and Humble by Kendrick. And he tried to put those together and send us into the commercial break. And even Drake was making a face like, "What are you doing?" But he was trying to still be professional, which he did a great job of, because I would have been sitting there like, "Bro, that doesn't sound good at all." But Shaq really showed his age there. And, hey, he's a legend, so no one's going to say anything to him. He makes millions of dollars up there doing TNT. So, he can do whatever he wants, apparently. It was funny. What was funny is him and Chuck going back and forth. That's always funny. But it's a little forced at times. You can tell they're kind of just doing something because they knew that's what breaks the ice when it comes to breaking the tension, or at least the awkwardness of being up there with a live studio audience. They're not professionals. When it comes to performing live, they perform in the studio, and hey, it was what it was. They'll learn from their mistakes, and they'll do it differently next year, I'm hoping. But hopefully not without the 4 of them. Kenny, my gosh, he's just so unfunny. I just need him to. Drake said he's the most expendable one up there. He was not lying. Kenny could be replaced tomorrow, and I wouldn't even blink. I'd rather Isaiah up there. And as I said, I'm a Knicks fan. And if I say I want Isaiah someplace, Isaiah Thomas, up there, then that's saying something. But another awkward part, this man was a pioneer. He's a legend, pioneer for black people, black athletes, black coaches. But Bill Russell's segment was just another cringeworthy segment up there. He deserved that award for sure. He deserves any award he gets going forward. for just being the first, being number one. Just like Jackie Robinson, you're not gonna take anything away from Jackie Robinson. You're not gonna take anything away from all of the first black athletes in their sports for sure. But I mean, someone had to go up there and really direct him where to go, because there was a point where it was like a good 10, 15 seconds where no one was saying anything. It was just quiet. I almost had to turn the TV off because it was just weird to me. Maybe I'm just weird because I can't really watch moments like that, but it was strange. I can't lie. It was strange. It was funny when he was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I could kick all your asses or something like that. That was funny. That was but that's about it with that. The rest was just I was just waiting for it to end. I'm not gonna lie. There's only, I mean, as I said, he deserves every single award, but there's only so many times where I have the patience to listen to a Bill Russell acceptance speech. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I mean, I could get some slack for that, but I personally don't care because he's that era of basketball is over, and I'm ready to just kind of move forward with that time period. We understand that he was a pioneer, and I'll never take that away from him. I'm thankful for the fact that he was even able to open the door. But basketball wouldn't exist if black people weren't even playing, because he was a beast, and he was playing with a bunch of white dudes that can dribble with one hand, and they were shooting like they never shot a. You go to the courts and you see a little kid trying to shoot that's too weak to throw the ball up, and probably never really shot for real in his life. That's how they used to shoot back then. Not all of them, but you watch videos, that's what they look like. So, I mean, I'm not gonna excuse me. I'm not gonna sit here and say that Bill Russell's the best to ever do it just because he won 11 titles in 13 years. He better won those 11 titles in 13 years. If him and Wilt were the only ones and Wilt came later. So, I mean, hey, I'm not gonna sit here and bash Bill Russell. He's a legend, and he deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore just for the fact that he was a pioneer, not based off skill and talent. I mean, to me, there should be separate categories for Mount Rushmores. It shouldn't be like the number one Mount Rushmore, because what are you basing it off of? You can base it off skill, you can base it off talent, you can base it off what you've done for the game. So, I mean, that's another debate for another episode. But I mean, that's really my take on the NBA award show. I gave it, out of 5 stars, I give it 2.5 stars. Could have been better in my opinion. Drake was a highlight. The awards that they gave. I mean, the people that they gave the awards to, the players that gave the awards to, was another highlight, and that's really about it. The skits were funny too, man. But the award show, 2.5 stars. They better be able to do it better next time, because it's a great idea to make an event for handing out awards instead of just doing it kind of and looking on ESPN or on Twitter to see who the awards go to. It makes sense, and the fact that it was after the day after the BET Awards, I mean, it's a great idea. Just got to do better next year. Excuse me. So, we're done talking about the NBA awards. I kind of want to touch briefly on the NBA draft that happened last week. Top 5 picks were pretty predictable. Especially since Boston traded their pick to Philly. I mean, Fultz is the obvious choice for that team. I'm not sure if everyone's seen, but they got the nickname the Feds for, let's see, who's the F? Fultz, E is Embiid, D is Dario Saric, and S is Simmons. And KD clowned them for it. He was on record clowning them for it. He got recorded saying it somewhere. I think it was in some softball game. I mean, it's well-deserved, that clowning, because they haven't played a single game together, and they already got nicknames. So they better tear it up this season. And I don't know. Part of me thinks that some of these teams are still going to be tanking next year for this kid, Michael Porter Jr., that's about to be a freshman, and he's going to be a superstar in the NBA, I believe. But, I mean, people say that every year, so-and-so is going to be a superstar. But all I know is Lonzo better not get hurt. Fultz better not get hurt in summer league, so we can actually see these guys play, and not have another high draft pick miss an entire season. I'm tired of that, man. Like, I want to see the number ones out there playing and doing something with their teams and trying to make them better. So I want to see Lonzo play. I want to see Fultz play. I want to see Tatum play. I definitely want to see De'Aaron Fox play. One person I'm very anxious to watch play is the Knicks pick. I can't pronounce his last name. I'm not even going to try to butcher it. I couldn't pronounce Porzingis' Kristaps' name early when he first got drafted either. But I'm just going to call this year's Knicks first-round pick Frank the Tank. I'm on record calling him that for the first time. I don't know, somebody might have called him that on Twitter. But Frank the Tank, man, I mean, there was a report today in the summer league practice, he hurt his knee already. Like, damn. I mean, since I'm sitting here talking about the Knicks, a lot of my friends who are close to me that know that, of course, they all know I'm a diehard Knicks fan. You follow me on Twitter. It's really all I talk about is the Knicks. I'll plug my Twitter at the end, by the way. I was giving Phil Jackson the benefit of the doubt. They just picked up his last 2 years of his contract, and I figured, we got Phil. James Dolan is not going to fire Phil Jackson. I didn't think he was going to do it. We might as well accept it and just trust in him and see what he can do. I didn't want to admit that he was sabotaging this team, but damn it, he was sabotaging the Knicks, man. He was sabotaging this team. He didn't want to be the coach of this. I mean, the president of this team. He didn't want to be here. Stephen A. was saying it today, this morning. He just wanted the money. And I cannot really say I disagree with him, man, because going back to firing Mike Woodson, just because he had one bad season, but the season before, I mean, I think Mike Woodson had the highest winning percentage of the Knicks past like 10, 11 coaches. How do you fire him? Because he doesn't want to run the triangle? The triangle is the most outdated offense that we have in the league today, which will no longer be run by the Knicks, I pray to God. But I didn't think it can be done. I didn't think James Dolan would fire him. And James Dolan is somebody that I've hated for many years. That's like an inherited hate, because my dad hates James Dolan probably more than me. And the whole thing with Oak this year, and I can't even really put it into words, the hatred I have for James Dolan. But he did one thing right, and he fired Phil Jackson. Now, if he does some nonsense, like try to bring Isaiah back, like a few years ago, he was talking about bringing Isaiah back in some role. Isaiah Thomas, I'm not even going to get into that. I'm not going to get into it. If you're a fan of the Knicks, you know why Isaiah Thomas doesn't need to be anywhere near the state of New York ever again, especially the Garden. So the fact that he fired Phil Jackson today, and I'm going to say it, fired. They didn't agree to part ways. James Dolan fired Phil Jackson. And I was ecstatic. I woke up at 7. What time did I wake up this morning? It's 7 o'clock in the morning for work. I looked on Instagram and I saw Phil Jackson and the Knicks agreed to part ways. I was like, Phil Jackson was fired. He got his ass fired. And I couldn't have been more happy, man. I went on Twitter and I ranted about it. And I ranted and raved. And I'm ecstatic. And as somebody that was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt deep down, I was pushing those feelings deep down. But I'm out here saying it right now. Phil Jackson was trying to sabotage his team. And I would hate to believe that he drafted Frank the Tank over Dennis Smith Jr. just out of spite, because he knew that he was eventually going to get fired. Because I think that Dennis Smith's going to be one of the steals of the draft. He's going to be like a Damian Lillard type and just be a steal, and just he's going to be one of the next futures of the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I could be wrong. This time next year, I could be doing another podcast saying that Dennis Smith was a bust, but I don't know, man. I don't really see it. I mean, he's ridiculously athletic. He can shoot. He can pass. He's got great basketball IQ. I don't know. I don't see it, and I was really upset that they passed on him and Malik Monk, even though I think Malik Monk is a poor man's J.R. Smith. But and if Michael Jordan drafted him, then I don't have high hopes for him, because Michael Jordan cannot draft for his life. He drafted Frank Kaminsky last year, or 2 years ago. I can't even tell you who he drafted last year. I mean, you got Cody Zeller, you got Michael Kidd-Gilchrist at number 2. If Michael Jordan was the president of the Knicks organization the year that he drafted Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, he would have been fired. Michael Jordan would have been fired immediately. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, he can play defense, he can rebound, but he's not number 2 pick worthy. I mean, nobody talks about that Michael Jordan is terrible at being an exec, and he just gets the time because he's in Charlotte. I guess he's from Charlotte. So he gets time to prove himself with that organization, but I mean, they've got plenty of time. Change the name back to the Hornets from the Bobcats, and they're still trash. This dude drafted Adam Morrison. Michael Jordan drafted Adam Morrison with like a top, I think it was a top 10 pick for sure. And I don't know, man. Michael Jordan's trash to me as far as an exec. And I tweeted this today. Just because you're good at one aspect of the game doesn't mean that you'll be great in the other aspects, especially when it comes to running a franchise. And Phil Jackson damn sure couldn't do it, and Michael Jordan can't do it, and there are many others that can't do it. It takes a lot. I mean, but at this point, I really hope Billy Beane can come. Billy Beane was the GM of the Oakland A's. I'm not sure if you've seen the movie, but if we can get a Billy Beane type guy come and just completely just rebuild this franchise as being the Knicks, man, I'll be the happiest person on earth. And I'm waiting for that day to come. But at this point, as optimistic as I like to be when it comes to the Knicks this season, I can't really see much happening unless some good could happen in free agency during the summer. But I just want to see progression from some of the young players, and KP being the major one. He's playing overseas this year with his national team of Latvia, and he's going to come into the season in mid-season form, the start of the season. So I think he's going to tear it up. I just hope he doesn't play too hard over there and get hurt. But he's young. He should be able to bounce back, heal quickly. But I'm optimistic about the future. Now that Phil's gone, I want to see Jeff Hornacek fully run the offense the way that he wants to. And and not have to be forced to run the triangle. Like, why hire Jeff Hornacek after firing Derek Fisher, who was just god-awful, by the way? Why hire Jeff Hornacek, somebody that's never coached the triangle before, ever? Why hire him? Like, Phil Jackson did some of the most idiotic things when it comes to running a team. As in hindsight, when you look back, like when things would happen, go, okay, all right. I used to even hashtag and Phil retrust, just like everyone else, because I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's Phil Jackson, and I'm not the only one. Dude's got 11 rings. He has it for a reason. Maybe he know. I was thinking that he possibly knows what it takes to run to build a championship team. And he had us all hoodwinked, bamboozled, and I mean, I'm sitting here hot thinking about it because you just wasted some good teams. Almost ran Melo out, and I'm a huge Melo fan, but as badly as I want him to win and possibly leave, I don't think he will leave because I think his family wants to stay in New York, and he's trying to fight for his family anyway. So, man, I don't know, man. I just really hope that the Knicks can have some type of turnaround, and maybe Griffin, the old president of Cleveland, can come in and do something. I don't know, but this season, it's we got to just continue to rebuild and start from scratch. Do what the Yankees are doing over there, and just build from the farm system. You know, just draft well and make some good trades and pick some players up in free agency and just build with the strengths of the coach's offense. And that's something that the Knicks, I don't think, have ever done. They just want to get names in there so they can get butts in the seats. And that's James Dolan, which is another reason why I hate the man. But, oh man, my Knicks. It's sad. It's sad, it really is. But, I mean, if I was a fan of this team, I would be extremely ecstatic at this point. And that's the Minnesota Timberwolves. Because I think getting Jimmy Butler is going to really turn that entire franchise around. And not just because I don't think Jimmy Butler is some megastar. I just think Jimmy Butler plays his ass off. He plays very tough defense. He's a playmaker. He can get to the basket. And I think all that will rub off on Andrew Wiggins, who to me is extremely one-sided, just likes to get his 20-plus points a game. And Karl-Anthony Towns, I mean, he already had that year under KG, and you could just tell the kid wants it. I mean, he averaged 25 and 12 this season. That's just ridiculous. 23 and 12, something like that, ridiculous. He's not even 21 years old. It's ridiculous. So Karl-Anthony Towns is the truth. He's the future. Probably going to be one of the best players in the entire NBA. Go off the dribble. He plays like a guard, and he's got the height of a center. Can back down to the basket, get rebounds, put back dunks. He's the truth. And Andrew Wiggins was the number one pick for a reason, and I believe that he's still got ridiculous potential. And to add Jimmy Butler to that team and a real distributing, true point guard, a solid bench guy, Shabazz Muhammad coming off the bench. Always loved the kid. I actually just love UCLA guys because they all play hard. Westbrook plays hard. Holiday plays hard. Collison plays hard. Kevin Love obviously plays hard. I mean, even Aaron Aflalo, like these guys, UCLA guys play hard, and Shabazz is right on that list, man. And I think they got a really good squad. I mean, they're going to be run ragged because Tibbs is going to play each of them like 40 minutes. But Minnesota, their ceiling is extremely high, and I think that they're going to improve greatly this season, and they're going to take the place of, I don't know, because the West is just so stacked. I mean, I don't know, man. I think that they can be playoff bound this season if they all buy in to Tibbs' system and play some hard defense and not give up leads late in the games like they did last season. But on the flip side, Chicago, I mean, could have been probably one of the dumbest moves that they could have ever made. I mean, probably dumber than the Knicks signing Joakim Noah to the contract that they signed him to. I'm not even going to talk about that because I literally, my eyes are turning red from just pure anger thinking about that. But to trade Jimmy Butler for Zach LaVine, somebody coming off an ACL injury, this kid from Arizona, and Chris Dunn, who is so disappointing because I had such high hopes for Chris Dunn. I really thought he was going to take over for Rubio, the point guard position in Minnesota. I really still think he's a good player, but he just played so bad last year. And I think maybe because they're kind of overloaded at point guard over there. But I don't know. I think that that was a terrible trade. I think the Bulls are really in trouble. They've been in trouble. I mean, it's not even a secret that their front office is just mismanaged. Dwayne Wade said it. The other past players have said it, that their front office is mismanaged. They really don't know how to treat their players correctly. And if I were D Wade, I'd get out of there too. But they're in rebuild mode. So, but as a diehard Knicks fan, it feels good that the Bulls are just slowly dwindling down. And so I'm just gonna stop talking about that because I don't mind that they're gonna suck this year. They'll be right there with us. So. But I mean, just like always, when we face each other, it's always competitive. So I'm sure it will be. I still like Fred Hoiberg. I think he's a good coach. He's just been put in a bad position. So we'll see what happens with the Bulls, But I think that the NBA is currently in this frantic mode because what's going on with the Warriors, and nobody really knows what move to make. All they know is that every president and GM is like, we need stars and stars on stars on stars on stars. And that's why I think today Houston traded for CP3, which to me wasn't the best move. I mean, James Harden averaged 28, 8, and 11 last year. Runner-up in the NBA Finals, playing point guard the entire season. And you're going to get probably the best floor general, one of the best floor generals to ever play the game. And you're going to have to put him at point guard, so you're going to take the ball out of James Harden's hand? That's James Harden's ball. James Harden deserves and he earned to have the ball in his hands at all times. And to put Chris Paul on that team just doesn't really make sense to me. I don't see it. I've been saying that James Harden needs a top 5 big on his team. I would have thought that Blake Griffin going to Houston would have been great, or a really great scoring small forward Paul George, which that move could actually still happen. Even Melo on that team, even though Melo's kind of a ball stopper also, but I think he would have probably bought in. I don't know. I don't think Mike D'Antoni would want to pair back up with Melo. But I think that that I really can't really see that working. They got rid of Lou Williams, who I thought that was a great pickup just to have 2 scorers off the bench. I even like Sam Decker on that team. I think he was the second coming of Chandler Parsons, and I think his upside was just a little bit better because Parsons is trash to me. Trash, and that's upsetting because I thought he was a good player in Houston. But he's an underachiever also. But I don't know. These teams are really trying to do whatever they can to compete with Golden State. But let's be honest, Golden State's going to the finals next year. I don't care what San Antonio does. They can get. See, they needed to get Chris Paul. Now Chris Paul, he picked the wrong Texas team because he would have fit perfectly in San Antonio. He would have been a perfect complement to Kawhi. LaMarcus Aldridge got to get his act together, and if he were able to stay over there, they would have gave Golden State a real run for their money. Because even though I think San Antonio would have pushed Golden State to maybe 6 games if Kawhi stayed healthy, I mean, we all know that they weren't going to win. Even though Tony Parker went down, I still don't think they were going to win. So Chris Paul would have been perfect. I mean, I could see San Antonio picking up Kyle Lowry, but I mean, that's still not going to help. Golden State has Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson on their team. I mean, each of those guys can go for 30 in any given night. And what's even crazier is each of them don't care who gets 30 any given night. They'll just feed the hot hand because they're so unselfish. It's incredible, and as long as they can stay healthy, because, I mean, if they stay healthy, they're the next dynasty. They're a dynasty. They're going to win next year. They'll win the year after that. LeBron knows that, and I think that Cleveland is in a rough position because, I mean, I don't think they know what to do because I don't care what they do to that team that's presently constructed. They're not going to beat Golden State. They lost in 5 games, which I predicted, by the way. Go back on my Twitter and look. Again, I'll plug my Twitter at the end of the show. But, I mean, LeBron and that Cleveland team, they're not beating them. I don't care who goes on that team right now. I mean, it'd have to be a young star. It'd have to be Paul George. But exactly how it's constructed right now, you can't take anyone away. You can't take Kevin Love away and replace with Paul George and think that they're going to beat Golden State because that's not going to happen. Can't put Melo on that team and take away Kevin Love and think that they're going to win. If they can get maybe D Wade and Melo, D Wade and Paul George, then maybe. But D Wade can't really stay that healthy. He's getting up there in age. I mean, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to not pick Golden State every year, which is why, even though I'm a Knicks fan, I'm okay with this rebuild mode because let the Golden State guys get a little older. Let their egos get a little bigger. Let Klay Thompson leave and go to LA in a couple years, which I think might happen. Because Klay's going to want to prove that he can run a team. I mean, all teams, super teams break up. Don't care what happens. Unless they're just so bought into the system and know that they can win maybe 3 in a row, get a three-peat. That'd be the only way. But, I mean, I'm not that mad as a Knicks fan right now because the Knicks are in rebuild mode. Let KP enter his prime, and then the NBA maybe balance out a bit. But for anyone that says that these quote-unquote super teams are ruining the league, they're out of their minds because it's making the league fun right now because teams are trying to compete and they're doing whatever they can. I remember when I was young, I was like, man, these same players are on the same teams every year when I play NBA Live or 2K when 2K kind of really took over. And now to see players that are on teams that are superstars team up with other superstars, it's almost like a fantasy draft or like you're just doing trades on your own. It's fun. It makes the league fun. It's going to make the competition may not be the same, but I mean, we all want to see scoring. We all want to see dunks. We all want to see highlight. We want to see all-star games every game. And if we can get some showtime in every game as a fan, it's fun, you know. They're not paying us. These teams aren't paying us. We're actually paying to watch and we want to be entertained. And if we're going to be entertained by watching super teams, quote unquote, which is something that's been happening for years, by the way. LeBron, you were on a super team. You're out of your mind. The situations may have been different. Miami was worse before, but come on. You joined a super team, and you couldn't have done it without Chris Bosh and D-Wade. You never were going to win without D-Wade and Chris Bosh, ever. It just was never going to happen. So the fact that KD did it, I never had a problem with it, ever. I never had a problem with KD going over there. He wants a ring. He's not trying to just sit there and let Cleveland and Golden State, which probably would have made it without him again. He wasn't trying to just sit there and just wait around and wait for OKC to do something, just like all these other stars are waiting for their team to do something. Like, KD made a move, and he did what was best for him, and you got to respect it. And but you got to see the direction that the league is taking, and you got to just sit back and enjoy it, because it's what's going to happen, and the more you complain, it's not going to stop it. So that's why it's fun that we're in this point, man. And I'm just happy that the Knicks have some young talent. KP's, he's out there working. You follow him on Instagram. He's working his behind off. He's going to average like 25 on that national team. I don't know, maybe not, because those Euros, they play tough, man. But I just hope he doesn't get hurt. But I don't know, man. We'll see where Blake goes. We'll see where Paul George goes. Every single day you see a new report that so-and-so team is trying to team up, blah, blah, and blah, blah, blah. So right now, apparently, Houston's trying to get Paul George, and Boston's trying to get Blake Griffin, and Boston's trying to get Blake and Gordon Hayward, and San Antonio's trying to get Derrick Rose. And, I mean, it's fun to read the stories, and the summer of off season is always very fun because you never know what can happen. And as a 2K player, you're excited to look at the new rosters and wait for the new game. So, I mean, it's all fun. It's all fun. But at this point, all you can do is wait for the next big tweet, the next big report to come out, and just, I don't know, man. You just gotta wait. You know, I mean, we're in a fun time right now with the NBA, and it's just extremely exciting. And I don't think any other sport's really doing this right now. I mean, to slowly work my way into NFL conversation slightly. I mean, the NFL's not really doing anything. In fact, they're having the opposite effect, because there are players that deserve to be on teams that aren't playing. They're currently not signed, and there are players that are terrible that are getting paid to play. I mean, Vince Young said it, I think, the other day. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and defend Vince Young. I mean, I think he was I use this word again, underachiever. I mean, he did what he could in the league, but I just don't think he really had the talent. I mean, but he was right. If Fitzpatrick can still have a job, Ryan Fitzpatrick, by the way, let's have a slight moment of silence for the New York Jets for being the worst team in the NFL and just being the dumbest organization in the NFL today. Okay, I don't even want to waste time with anything that has to do with the Jets because they're just so bad. Moving on. Ryan Fitzpatrick, if the fact that he can still have a job, and, I mean, Vince Young can't, I mean, it says something. And the fact that Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job right now. Now, I think the only reason why Colin Kaepernick isn't working right now and isn't on the team is because these organizations are afraid of the press that comes with having him on the team. Now, Colin Kaepernick, got to respect the dude, because it doesn't matter. He's not resting on his laurels. He's not going to turn back from what he believes in. And social injustice is very important. And I agree with him 100%. I think that he has a stage to be able to show that and I think that more black players in every sport should show some solidarity and do what he's doing. And I mean, the press is going to say one thing about him for not standing up for the freaking Pledge of Allegiance. And I mean, this is my opinion. You have your opinion on it, but I respect him for taking a stand. I think he could have potentially done it differently, but this is the way that he chose to do it, and you got to respect him. And I think it's for those reasons why, because he's not going to stop. He's going to put a fist up. I don't think he can kneel anymore, but he's going to do whatever he can at some point during the game to show that this is the position that he's taking. And I think it's that reason the organizations are scared of him. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. Colin Kaepernick led a team to the Super Bowl. Probably should have won that Super Bowl. You know he's got the talent to do it as long as he's got a legitimate training camp and a coach that's behind him. I think Colin Kaepernick is a good player. And to briefly talk about the Jets again, I think it's stupid that they didn't pick him up. They don't have a quarterback right now. I'm a Giants fan. So the Giants have Eli, and I think they have the quarterback of the future, and this kid from Cal. Giants are loaded on offense. Once again, they brought back all the defensive players that were stacked last year, and they added some more pieces. I mean, as long as Eli can stop throwing picks, the Giants are going to make some noise this season. And the one team that everyone was scared of last year, the Giants beat them twice. So I think, and that's the Dallas Cowboys. So I think the Giants are going to make some noise this season. And the fact that Odell Beckham Jr. is seen as probably the best player and the best wide receiver in football, can't take that from him. I mean, people make a debate for Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown's, 28? Odell Beckham Jr. is 24. Odell Beckham came into the league, and no one has better numbers than him. Yards after the catch. That's something that Brandon Marshall, he completely owned that category, yards after catch. And now the fact that Odell Beckham Jr. and Brandon Marshall are on the same team, and Odell Beckham Jr., he just gets yards. He knows how to avoid players. He just understands the game of football. I mean, I didn't even know this, that his first love as comes to sports was soccer, and you could tell in his footwork, man. I mean, he has the footwork of a soccer player, and I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. is the future of this team, and they better pay him immediately when they can, or he's gonna complain, and they're gonna lose a franchise player. So all I know is the Giants better pay him immediately when they can, so that we can eventually start saying we have a GOAT. But the current GOAT, until he retires, is Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the current GOAT, and I'm not ashamed to admit that because the Giants beat him twice in the Super Bowl. So the two blemishes on his record are from the New York Football Giants. Eli Manning won the Super Bowl MVP. Doesn't get enough credit for that. He is a Hall of Famer. Anyone that says that Eli Manning is not a Hall of Famer is an idiot. You don't win 2 Super Bowl MVPs and lead your team. Your team that barely was over 500 during the regular season, up against what many considered the greatest team in NFL history. It was undefeated, and they were supposed to beat that Giant team, just destroy them. Giants beat them. And then to meet them back 4 years later, back in the same position, maybe not with the same record, but another team that's supposed to just crush them. Gronk was healthy. Come on. And the Giants beat them again with another ridiculous catch to Mario Manningham, which I remember like where I was. I remember what I was eating. Those were like the two happiest moments, to be a New York sports fan and to kind of wish that the Knicks win so much and to never see it. But to get the Giants to win, the Yankees won in 2008 too, but obviously the Yankees went early 2000s, but I was young. I'm talking about, well, now I'm in like the prime of my sports love. To see the Giants win twice and both against the Patriots, it's just beautiful. But it's because of that I could admit that Tom Brady is the GOAT. Got 5 rings. I have a close friend that will vouch for me and say this, that when the Patriots were down 28-3 last year, I said, or 20-3, whatever the score was when they were down, they only had 3 points. I said that they were going to come back and win the game. I said it. I said that the Patriots were going to come back and win the game. I have someone to vouch for me for sure. But, I mean, that was the greatest thing I've ever witnessed. And Tom Brady deserves every accolade that he gets from this point forward, and so does Bill Belichick. I mean, Tom Coughlin outcoached him in the Super Bowl. Eli Manning outplayed Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. And that's enough for me. So, I can sit here and talk about the Giants and the NFL for forever, but I'm starting to come to the end of my the end of my time here with this episode, and I mean, it's been a joy to sit here and talk to you guys, talk to whoever's listening. I mean, hopefully you didn't get too tired of my voice, and if you made it this far, man, I just want to just thank you. And this is so important for me. I know I kind of stammered and jumped on my words a little bit, but don't worry, I'll get better. Just like anything, you get better at practice, and I just was really excited to record this episode and just talk about the things in sports that mattered to me today. And I mean, this was a sports-focused episode, but you can rest assured that there will be other topics. But I wanted to start with something that was the very most comfortable talking about, and that's sports. And I didn't even touch in every sports headline, but I needed to touch at least my two favorite sports. And I mean, again, this is episode 1. There will be many more to come, and I'll try to release when I'll be putting out my next episodes. I'll do it as early as I can. For those that do have Twitter, I will be releasing when I post my episodes on the platform of my choosing, but or when I release the episode itself. My Twitter is the word hashtag #HASHTAG _Marcus MARCUS _. That's #Marcus _. And I mean, from there you can see all my rants and raves throughout the day that I have about the topics that matter to me. It could be sports, movies, pop culture, politics, music. I mean, trust me, we'll be talking about all that on The Fact of the Matter. And I mean, this is a very exciting moment for me. It's a very exciting time, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. And until next time.